Hello, everybody, and good morning. Welcome to the Top Producer Show. So our mission is to educate, equip, train servant leaders. Our vision is to create financially independent achievers, and our purpose is to help people grow. And today we're going to be starting off with the book Think and Grow Rich. And so with that, I'm going to send this over to you, Jeff.
Let's connect to everybody first.
Oh, yep. Almost forgot to do that. Hope you guys had a good weekend.
Peg, Dakota. Nashville and Joe.
Alrighty.
Okay, David Roeder, how are you? Good morning. Happy Monday. Andrew Feiner, what's going on? Chance Brown is here. How is everybody? Okay, so top producer. Everybody basically that I've met or I've listened to that's a top performer in anything says this, and this is the book they recommend. The story behind Think and Grow Rich. Andrew Carnegie hired Napoleon Hill to basically go out and meet and interview. Hello, Stacy. He was hired to meet and interview 500 of the top wealthiest people in the world. And he commissioned him to do this. He gave him about 30 seconds to decide. He goes, look, I'm going to do the introduction and I'm going to pay basically to get you there. But everything else is up to you. I'm not giving you any money, but this is probably one of the greatest, this will be one of the greatest jobs anybody could possibly do, is to find out what are the secrets of success. Like what makes these 500 people the wealthiest people on the planet. And he was able to interview, the list goes on and on. Henry Ford, the greatest people of that time. And there's a list online of everybody. I don't want to read through it. And what he assembled was 13 principles that these people all had in common. And it is the foundation if you want, some of the brain power up here to be able to create wealth, success, achievement. It gets referenced in so many different ways, this particular book. And he said, this comes from the creator. So chapter 1 is he starts out and says, thoughts are things. You're 3 feet from gold. One of the most common causes of failure is the habit of quitting when one is overtaken by temporary defeat. So what is temporary defeat? Marty, how are you? Always been told to work until my, bank account looks like, yeah. So every person is guilty of this mistake at one time or another, giving up because of, some temporary defeat. Always seek expert counsel before giving up. And what I've learned from, the greatest people on the planet in their particular field is they all say the same thing. The fastest way to success is a mentor. The fastest way to success is a mentor. Working with who you're going to work with. That's the most important thing. One sound idea is all one needs to achieve success. And I thought that was kind of interesting. And it's not necessarily education, and it's not necessarily who you know, but it's just one idea, one thing that comes to you at the right time. It says, when riches begin to come in, they come in so quickly, with such great abundance that one wonders where they've been hiding during all those lean years. There's a very successful person that says, if if you're trying to make $1 million and it takes you more than 2 to 5 years, you're probably doing something insanely wrong. It doesn't take longer than that to make $1 million. Now, it might take longer than that for you to get to a point where you understand how to make $1 million, but in the actual physical activity to do it is usually 2 to 5 years or less. And we've seen this with, like, famous people who, work at things, and then it's just one connection or one idea or one song, and then all of a sudden they're there. And when it comes to music and the arts, yes, it's a little different. When it's a business idea, it's usually 2 to 5 years. One of the main weaknesses of mankind is the average man's familiarity with the word impossible. He knows all the rules which do not work. So if your mind's filled with how things can't work and how things won't work and how things shouldn't work, if you have that negative mindset, it's going to be nearly impossible for you to figure it out and make it. This book was written for those who seek the rules which have made other people successful and are willing to stake everything for those rules. Meaning you're willing to give all effort, not you're willing to go beyond, because there is the balance of working with human nature and doing the right things. And he goes in depth. There's another book, Napoleon Hill. I didn't know that much about other than the book. I know he wrote multiple books, but there's several books he wrote, including The Science of Getting Rich. And The Science of Success, Success comes to those that become success conscious. Failure comes to those who indifferently allow themselves to become failure conscious. So it's kind of a thought process and a vocabulary that you use. Another weakness found altogether in too many people is the having to measure everything and everyone by their own impressions and beliefs. Meaning, you have to get other information. Your input limits you. Where you grew up limits you. The television shows you watch limits you. Why? Because it only gives you one perspective on what's going on. Somebody was asking, why is it that Americans are this and Americans are that? Well, if you look at the total world population of 7 billion people and you take the 335 million people who live in the U.S., we make up a very small percentage of the world's population. Therefore, you have a very limited view of what's actually going on in the world versus what's going on in your back door. Now, I know that Indiana, in particular where, I live, where Brandy and I live, in Indiana, I read something a while ago. It says the average person, 80% of people in Indiana have never ventured outside of 50 miles outside of their house. 50 miles, and some of them I don't think make it out the front door. I mean, that's just me. What I think. Catherine, hello. That's unfortunate, but it also tells a lot about why people are stuck in their little world. They're stuck inside of, their limiting beliefs because they just haven't seen very much. Marty, what's happening? Another weakness found altogether. Okay, beliefs. We refuse to believe that which we do not understand. So understanding has a lot to do with success. Success principle, desire, knowing what one wants. Our brains can become magnetized with dominating thoughts which we hold in our minds, and by means which no man is familiar, these magnets attract to us to forces, the people and circumstances in our life which harmonize with nature of our dominating thoughts. So thoughts are things, and what you're thinking about on a regular basis usually is what comes true, what you manifest in life. This is why, if you watch The Secret, Rhonda, who also studied this book, that's from Australia, I believe, who wrote The Secret, says whatever you focus on continuously, you start picking up, and she talks about picking up vibrations. If you look at Tony Robbins' books and you read his stuff, what happens is there's the reticulating accurate something, RAI, I believe is what it is. And basically it's your ability to filter out all the other stuff around you. And he gives an example inside of one of his books and inside of one of his seminars. He goes, okay, what I want you to do is I want you to look around the room, close your eyes, and think of everything red. And everything red in the room. And he's like, you'll think of stuff that you've seen. He goes, now open your eyes And now what I want you to do is pick out everything that's red. And because that's what you're looking for, you end up seeing 80% more of it. And your brain filters out everything else. And the reason your brain filters out everything else is you can't take in all information all the time. It's not that you can't take in more information, it's just you can't take in all information all the time and filter it all out. So it filters out the majority of it, like 80-90%, and it just focuses on what you're looking for. Think about that, what you're looking for. What are you looking for? Well, the dominating thoughts in your head basically allow you to seek out and find drama, seek out and find BS, seek out and find, political garbage that's online. I mean, you're going to find whatever your dominating thoughts are. Whereas if you're searching for success, you're like, don't want to look at that, 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 don't want to watch TV, don't want to watch Lost. I'm looking for success, so I'm constantly trying to find the people who are successful who can give me this help. And the people who are also going after this. So before we can accumulate riches in abundance, we must magnetize our minds with intense desire for riches. That we must become money conscious until the desire for money drives us to create compelling plans to acquire it. So it's not just about the money itself. And what I mean by just the money itself, it's not just stacking it up just to have it. It's the things you can do with it. Typically, watch this, typically you'll find the people who have the highest success are usually also the greatest givers. The greatest givers. I thought that was kind of interesting. The people who have had the most success a lot of times are the greatest givers financially of any institution in the world. Certain people are willing to give up half of everything that they have, and what's greater, the person that has $1, there's an example of this in another good book. There's an example of the guy who gives out $1 versus the multimillionaire who gives out $100,000. The guy who gave $1 gave more because he was poor and didn't have anything to begin with. So he was able to give more. But you accumulate massive wealth not to hoard it, but to be able to share it, give it away, and help other people. Somebody's car's going off. Okay, so what the mind of a man can conceive and believe, he or she can achieve. So before we do anything, before we accumulate all this, we're able to basically magnetize our mind with what we want. And that's really one of the tricks to becoming a top producer is there's three things to become a top producer. It's a mindset. The mindset is really about 80%. Second is a skill set. There are certain things you need to know in your profession. Whether you're in direct sales, whether you're in real estate, whether you're in insurance, whether it's, list building or you're selling something online or you have an eBay business. We have friends that sell furniture. If you want to become a top producer in any of those, there is a thought process to it, to be able to do the right things. And it's finding the half a dozen things that work. But you got to have up here set up right first. And up here has more than one part of just the cognitive thought. There is the spiritual side to it as well, which he actually gets into in this book. So there's the thought process, there's the cognitive part, there's also the emotional, spiritual part, and then there's the physical, what do I need to do? There's the order in which you need to do things and how you need to do things and why you need to do things that you have to understand. And that's really the skill set part, but it's only about 15%. The 5% is the tool set. There are certain tools that will allow you to build faster, to grow more, and they're different in every business, but a lot of the tool sets are similar. Having a planner, being able to have a scheduler, write things down. I've noticed that that's one of the bigger tool sets that people use. You'll find that the most successful people have their day usually planned out ahead of time. Now, I say that and people are like, yeah, but the rich people are able to do whatever they want. And that is usually a misconception and ignorance of people who don't understand what it took to become successful in the first place. It's not all beaches and trips, trust me, from the people that I know. The most successful people out there, the top producers, usually have a lot of what they're doing planned out. The difference is when they do take off, they're able to take off in such a way that the average person, doesn't even comprehend, that freedom to be able to go by, travel anywhere, show up anywhere. And it seems like they can do it anywhere and anytime. The reality is they can't. If you study, some of the most successful people, they have events, meetings, charities, things they belong to, associations, things they support that they have to be at, and they can't necessarily be like, hey, we're not coming because you need to change your time. They go to those things, but it's the time in between. It's the time in between where the average person is sitting watching TV. It's the time in between where the average person doesn't have a plan, can't figure out what to do, doesn't have a goal set. That's really a big difference maker. How you're using the time that you have, how you're prioritizing the time that you have. Usually I hear from people who are not top producers, who are not succeeding in their field. They're like, well, I'm just having a problem getting organized. Well, I'm just having a problem getting motivated. I'm just having a problem doing this. A lot of it comes down to priorities and being able to figure out what's important at what time. And he goes into that in this book. So that is the show for today. The first chapter, thoughts are things, the desire, magnetizing your mind towards what you want, and understanding that it's the thoughts you have that dominate what you do, that have everything to do with what you get. So that's what we got for today.
All right. Well, we have a new Facebook page for you guys. So you want to go to the Top Producer Show Facebook page, and you want to join that page because each one of these videos is going to be shared there. And if we have any other additional information, like if we're talking about a seminar, because we will be going over different trainings on this show, not just books. So if we ever have anything else, you'll be able to find the links up on there. And with that, that is what we have for today.
I'm also putting up the notes.
And he will also be putting up the notes. So if you guys would like the notes for this chapter, you are welcome to grab those. So with that, that's what we have for today. And we will see you guys tomorrow.